Welcome to the NintendoCade channel. I am Danny. Today is a landmark historical day. That is the 25th anniversary of the original Star Fox on the Super Nintendo. This is the game that started all 25 years ago. What an amazing thing to know that 25 years has passed. And this is the original game that I grew up as a child playing back when the first release on the Super Nintendo. And the graphics were revolutionary at the time with this 3D effects created by the Super FX chip that you can see on the little corner here, showing that this landmark feature that made the graphics possible in that day. And it's mind-blowing to know that all 25 years ago that 3D was a thing, and all games back then was all in 2D. But looking in the back, you see all the various characters: Peppy Hair, Slippy Toad, and Falco right there, looking really cool. And they all have this really nice kind of like a puppet look. That's what's great about the cover back then. I thought it was really sleek, and you have a fox right there on the front cover. But going back to back then, Nintendo Power also released this really cool cover. You can see right there with the Fox Mccloud right there, and Falco, and then of course Slippy Toad and Peppy Hair all on the cover, looking really cool. I love these retro style covers, and just going back, I can always go back to these Nintendo Power, get a great blast from the past, looking in the history of things. Going to 1997, and that is one of the best games of all time for me for the Star Fox franchise, is Star Fox 64 for the Nintendo 64. Now you guys know this is a big box. It does include the Rumble Pack, and that's actually revolutionary at the time because it was the first time Nintendo released a device that you can connect to the controller, and then you can have these force feedback. So obviously rumbling, that's something we take for granted nowadays. It's a standard thing for every controllers from there on. But you gotta understand, before with the Nintendo 64, it was the first to actually release it, in 1997, and with the Rumble Pack. And the game is phenomenal. The action is incredible. It's an on-rail shooter just like the original one, but it has, again, ultimate paths, and you can choose where you want to go, and it's a lot of fun. This is the one that I actually put a lot of time into, and getting the highest scores growing up. It was one of the best things to do with your friends. So nonetheless, really great game. Of course, with I just mentioned earlier with Nintendo Power, they did release an issue of it celebrating this momentous occasion with this really awesome polygonal character of Star Fox right there. And we have Falco right on the bottom, and really looking cool. I love this issue. I remember reading this a lot as a kid, and I'm very proud to have this part of the collection. Of course, they also included, the fun thing about Nintendo Power back then, they actually give you these promotional videos. If you guys live during the day, it's actually these VHS tapes, so it's really cool to see that they give it out. And they say it launched on June 30th, 1997, and on the back they actually featured a really nice look of the Rumble Pack connected to the N64 controller, and that's what I was talking about with the force feedback rumbling that we take for granted nowadays. And then I'm taking out the VHS just to give you guys a look. This is how we watch videos back then on a VHS tape. This is for you guys old school, know what this is about. And there's, of course, they all include a little kind of a subscription paperwork that you can subscribe to Nintendo Power back in the day. So this is how we do it, and it's cool that it's actually Star Fox themed. So I kept everything there. I'm really happy to have that. All right, moving to the next entry is Starfox Adventures in 2002. Now this is a game that took a big departure from the original Star Fox, and as the name implies, it is an adventure after all with the Nintendo GameCube release. This is actually a game developed by Rare, one of the legendary developers on Nintendo 64 on classics like Banjo-Kazooie, GoldenEye 007, Jet Force Gemini, so many others that you probably can name yourself. But this game, I do remember that when I turned it on, I was like, wow, this is a very big departure. It was not an on-rail shooter at all. They do have segments of it, but it's on-foot adventure, pretty much. Like, it's more akin to a Zelda game. And I do remember booting up the game. It's actually a very gorgeous game. It's a very underrated game, I would say. Not many people give this a chance. So, I mean, I do say if you love a Zelda adventure or any kind of adventure game in general, give this a try. Starfox Adventure, for the Rare developed it. It's actually their last work with Nintendo before they shifted their partnership with Nintendo to other companies. But this is a really great game. You should give it a try. So Of course, I can't end it off with that. Is they have a Nintendo Power as well, and I love this cover. It looks really cool and colorful. You have Crystal right there, and Starfox holding the staff. Really, really neat. And we have a little dinosaur here. His name is Tricky. Maybe if you guys have played the game back in the day, that's his name, and he's like a big friend with Fox Mccloud going on your entire journey. So really, really great. So in the next adventure, continuing with the GameCube, they actually had 2 entries for the GameCube system, and that is Starfox Assault. Now this is actually a partnership with I believe Namco at the time. They changed things up a bit. They went back to the kind of the flight adventure type of games from the first 2. A lot of all-range mode parts. But the thing is about this one, it has a lot of mission based on ground. They have vehicles that the Landmaster that they first appeared on Star Fox 64, brought to Starfox Assault. It's a lot of on foot. You play Fox Mccloud on foot, and also the various vehicles as well. So it's a little bit different pace, but it's still a lot of fun. I did put a bit of time on this when it first released on the GameCube. And it's worthwhile to give a chance of this game, because many of the games Nintendo did change the formula a bit, but you know, that's the part about the Star Fox franchise, that you can kind of experience it as you go, take what it is and see how you like it. But I do remember playing this a bit. Alright, so of course the issue for Nintendo Power for this one is very clearly, you have an Arwing on the side here, and then Fox Mccloud is always featured prominently in every Nintendo Power magazine. Really, really cool. So going in 2006, there was the release of Star Fox Command for the Nintendo DS. Now this is a game that, again, they really took a little bit different approach. They went back to the all-range mode like the previous Star Fox Assault, but they put a strategy element to it. The original developers on the Super Nintendo, a bit of them came back for this entry. Dylan Cuthbert, the main head of the original Star Fox, came back, and he put what I was talking about, the strategy element. It's sort of like a chess. You take turns going through the various areas, and of course there's still some areas where you do dogfights with other enemies of the Star Fox universe, but you have to pick your choices in terms of where you go very carefully, and it's a strategic game compared to the rest of the entry. But this is the first entry in terms of going portable, and it's really cool. So now going to 2011, this is going back now. This is like a port of the original game that we saw with the Nintendo 64. Again, is my favorite of all time. That is Star Fox 64 3D for Nintendo 3DS. This is a fantastic way to play a classic game on a modern day console compared to Nintendo 64. They revamped the graphics, the voice acting that I mentioned earlier for the Nintendo 64 is epic. You literally get into the fight, you get into the dialogue, and know the character very well. You get to know the story of Fox losing his father against Andros, and now he's taking the reins to control the Star Fox team. So this is a great way to play. The graphics are fantastic. The sounds are brought to life with the Nintendo 3DS. Definitely, if you don't have a chance to play the Nintendo 64 original the old-fashioned way, get this game. This is the way to go. So with that as well, I also have a Nintendo Power magazine. This is unfortunately the last issue that Nintendo Power released regarding Star Fox before the end of its run. But of course, looking at the cover itself, it looks really badass. Look at that, Star Fox looking behind him with the Arwing, seeing all this weapon fire from the enemies. So what can you say? This is actually an action-packed look of the game itself. And of course, I had to import myself one of the cool freebies with the Club Nintendo in Japan. It's not a freebie for me, I had to import it itself, but I love the music from Star Fox 64 the most, and I had to import the soundtrack. And this is actually a Club Nintendo exclusive in Japan, and it had all the tracks from the original game, from the revised version for the Nintendo 3DS. So really great piece, and I'm very proud to have this in the collection. Alright, so the next one, and this is the most recent entry in 2016, is Star Fox Zero for Nintendo Wii. So many people were not able to try this out. Nintendo Wii wasn't Nintendo's most successful system. It was a big install base, so people overlooked this game. One of the things about this game is many people did not give it a chance because of the controls. It does take a bit of time to get used to. I've gotten used to it. I actually put a lot of time into this game. I do remember the music is really amazing and epic. The orchestral score is like none other, and even right now as you listen to this video, it's actually a song from Starfox Zero. That's how I tell you the epicness of this game, and I do recommend it. Actually, I have a little bonus game in there. That's why you notice it is a big box. It has Starfox Guard in there, so it was a prototype game that was shown at E3 by Shigeru Miyamoto, and that what came out to be. That is Starfox Guard, and then Shigeru Miyamoto actually worked on this directly himself. So of course, now it's not end all. In 2017, Nintendo released the Super NES Classic Edition, and of course they have 21 games included in this system. Really awesome way to play the classics from the 90s, from the Super Nintendo. And if you look in the corner top here, it actually has a little logo that says it includes Star Fox 2. Now, with Star Fox 2 is actually a game that was never released on the Super Nintendo back in the day. It was canceled, and they finished the development of the game, and only until the Super NES Classic Edition was released that people got a chance to play it. It's a really interesting look at back in Star Fox's history, with Nintendo working with the original team with Dylan Cuthbert, Argonaut Software, to make the first Star Fox. And that was actually the game that used the Star Fox, I should say, the Super FX 2 chip back in the 90s. Then when they enhancing the 3D elements of that generation. So unfortunately, it was cut short, and this is a fantastic way to look back at what ideas they had for this game, and they implemented all throughout the franchise of all the games that I mentioned earlier. And you can see where they got a lot of the ideas from Star Fox 64 all the way to Star Fox Zero. So this is a landmark game that many people may not be aware of, but definitely worthwhile trying to look at in its history itself. Alright, so now I'm going to show you all of the really cool collectibles I gathered over the years. I'm going to see the best for last on this one here. I'm going to start off with very simple with the amiibos. Many people may not be aware, Starfox, Fox Mccloud, and also Falco right here as the amiibo form. Really cool. It's a Smash Bros. Line. Definitely a great collectible. I couldn't, I had to grab these because it's not very often you see collectibles for Starfox. So next one is a plushie. I love this plushie a lot because look at that. It's Fox Mccloud right there, looking really cool. He has the suit itself and I guess the helmet, if you call it. Usually have a little microphone there for him to speak to his team, and that's something I can just put on my game room and look at that. It's really sweet, really cool looking. Next one is a little bit hefty and it's a bit heavy. It's actually made out of stone. That is this Fox Mccloud figure, and it's actually made out of stone. It's actually pretty heavy. I'm actually trying not to damage it because I usually keep it in place in my collection in my game room itself. But look at that. When you look at that face, he looks very serious. This is based on Star Fox Zero, and you're looking in the back side. He has the insignia of the Starfox team, so really cool, and I'm very proud to have this as well in the collection. Of course, this is part of so they have a certificate of authenticity that included with it. Really sweet to say that this is legit, and this is actually an officially licensed product by Nintendo. Now, to end it off, this is my biggest piece in my collection. If you guys don't know, I have a game room tour, and this is one of the proud pieces in the first part of my game room tour. I have a pretty decent size first 4 figures collection, and I'm proud to have this. And you guys know by now, I'm a big Starfox fan, and that is having this really fantastic Arwing from the Starfox franchise. Look at that, it's actual Arwing, and what's neat about this is an exclusive edition. So what that means is it actually light up pretty well. Look at that, it actually, you can see in the back, it lights up, so you can tell that the engine is moving and it's rocking. That's how it flies, so really cool. You can actually tilt this in any way you want it, so it's not just static and where it's standing, but nonetheless looks really cool. And this is my proudest piece of the entire Nintendo collection. So to end it off with you guys, with the legacy of the 25th anniversary of Star Fox, the whole entire history of Star Fox in its whole glory, and the entire timeline there, starting from 1993 and ending off with Star Fox Zero. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode with us. Give us a thumbs up, especially if you enjoyed. Subscribe to NintendoCade, that's always helpful. And leave me down below in the comments what are your thoughts of the Star Fox franchise. I have a big, big history of going back with it in 25 years. And I hope you guys feel the same way as well. So I hope to hear your thoughts about it. So, and again, I will catch you again in the next episode.